Addressing America's need for housing is fast becoming a top priority for many communities. The availability of housing, especially as workforce needs increase, can stall development and challenge local progress. This project presents what happens when a group of innovators found a ready partner in Virginia's top housing agency and worked with a local manufacturer to bring over 20 units of new housing within walking distance of downtown shopping, eating, and entertainment in Henry County. We invite you to learn more about Martinsville's 5 Points Project.
At a number of EDC meetings, of course our EDC does a great job of recruiting business to the area, but kind of a recurring comment that was being made at some of those board meetings is that if a business or a company comes here and they're going to bring 200, 300, 400 new employees, then a question that has kind of continuously popped up in some of those conversations is, where are these people going to live? And that, I think, kind of initiated some conversations about the need for housing in this area. And then, of course, from there we ended up with the housing summit that occurred in July 2019 that I think was a great success. There was 120, 130 people there, a lot of state representatives there, a lot of interest, and I think it kind of brought into focus the housing situation in this area, the fact that most of the housing stock is older. There's been very little new construction, in the last 15, 20 years, particularly when you look at what maybe younger individuals that move to the community want, good location, good amenities, things like that, and really identified a shortcoming of that, or a shortfall of that.
We came out of the housing summit with an understanding of what are truly some of our needs were in terms of housing, especially affordable housing in our community.
Well, the summit came together as a result of community leaders identifying those three main things that we were struggling with in our community: housing, transportation, and childcare. And the housing summit emerged out of our desire to really take advantage of the many different resources that are available to us through the state of Virginia that we previously had not been taking advantage of in this community.
But as we were looking to get a project going, to get started, first thing we looked at was, okay, what property do we have available throughout the city? And after looking at some maps and locations, we did find that there is some property over on West Church Street where the 5 Points Project is now located that was a pretty good fit for kind of a small demonstration type project. From there, a grant application was submitted to Virginia Housing. We were successful. Harvest actually got that grant. We partnered with Nationwide Homes, a local home contractor, home builder, which was basically a kind of a win for all of us because they're a local company. They've been here for many, many years. And it's kind of an opportunity for them to do a project in their backyard and showcase what they're capable of doing. And then the pieces just kind of gradually fell together. And the area we're talking about, if you go out West Church Street, there's actually two project areas. There's an area to the south, on the south side of West Church, off of Emmanuel and Endless Street, and it's about an acre. And on the south side, the plan is to go up to maybe 12 cottage type units. I think 8 would front on Church Street, and then 4 units would front on the street behind that, which is Emmanuel Street. And then immediately across the road on some property the city owns, there's a plan for a townhouse project, which would be, I think it's planned for 3 buildings of 5 units each.
I mean, it's at the intersection of old 58 and 57 and 220. So it really was the major intersection in the community, a long time ago, before bypasses were all built. It's seen some neglect over the years, and just having the confidence to invest in that intersection is also very important.
And we quickly realized that we have a benefit here in Martinsville and Henry County that most areas don't. And specifically, that is the plant that we have here, the Nationwide Homes Cavco plant that we have here. And to be able to have a manufacturer of housing within, a couple, 3 miles from the job site is a huge benefit. And that got us to thinking, okay, how do we really put together a model for other areas to go by and streamline the processes in every aspect possible, from energy efficiency to the do's and don'ts, you name it. And that's what we've been working on, and we have been quite successful with it.
Fortunately, we with the housing consultant, we were able to put together some various different partnerships. As far as the 5 Points project, it's probably one of the strongest public-private partnerships that I've ever been a part of, in terms of the municipality working with the city, working with Silver Point and Nationwide, and then the Harvest Foundation ourselves, but also bringing in the United Way. They've been a part of that, the EDC, and the meetings. We've tried to meet on a regular basis, and I can say without a doubt that when we've hit those barriers along the way, especially as a result of the pandemic, it has been so refreshing to see all the various different voices in the room, and how we attack a different barrier or a different problem or challenge by working together and coming up with a solution that helps to keep the project moving forward.
Well, there's several ways that COVID-19 and the pandemic just really stopped the project in its tracks and then slowed it down thereafter. So one example is with Department of Environmental Quality. None of their employees were in the office. And so as we were trying to get the approval and of the plans, there was a lag in getting them reviewed, because you would send them in, but they weren't necessarily anyone there to receive them. And then, of course, they weren't having meetings as they normally would. So that also caused them to get behind throughout the whole state. So it was, of course, they're looking at more than just this project. All of that created a decent amount of delay.
Especially the materials and things that and trying to get a timeline in terms of getting the construction of the houses and timing that with the ever increasing cost of raw materials. And I can't say enough about Silver Point and Nationwide and how hard they work to keep the cost down, because in the end you had to stay focused on not just putting up housing, but we wanted to put up affordable housing. And so they've worked extremely hard to hold down the cost and making sure that we can keep these houses into a range that the individuals can afford them. So the pandemic has definitely impacted that area, the housing, but just the ability to get people together to meet. We've had to do a lot of things virtually, which again, I give the group credit for adapting, but being able to work with various different agencies and getting those, just getting workers and things. So it's been a challenge. We've had some issues with the courts in terms of the legal stuff that had to be taken care of that we couldn't get to because the courts were closed. So that delayed the process. The courts were, I don't remember exact dates, but the delay in terms of getting the proper permitting and things and deeds and things that we had to do were just delayed simply because the courts weren't open.
value engineered each model to be as efficient as possible. And that entails a lot of different things. Some examples would be we don't really leave anything up to question. We actually do drawings of all the wall framings, drawings of the roof framings, floor framings, you name it. We have it detailed out in writing for our labor crews to follow. And so as we frame the house, we find ways to reduce waste and reduce lumber. In other words, when we're framing the wall and we see this window lands here, and if we move it 2 inches, we could get rid of a stud, we do that. Not only for the savings of the material, but also for the energy efficiency of it. We don't want to break up those cavities. We want insulation to be where it needs to be, not an extra stud that messes that up. And our construction techniques alone really allow us to be more efficient than most other forms of construction. To give you some examples, when we build our exterior walls, we build the wall and we apply the drywall to it. And then we set the wall on the floor. Well, what that allows us to do is once we go in and we cut in that drywall and we put in an electrical box or a switch or whatever the case may be, we put that box in there and then we're able to seal that opening before the exterior sheathing goes on. And you simply can't do that with other forms of constructions like stick built.
How we've tapped into all of those goals of the Harvest Foundation in our strategic planning in terms of workforce, and this is basically what we're targeting is workforce housing, and the investment in the community, getting people to move here and become homeowners and pay taxes and develop community, a sense of community. All of those things have, and then us being an advocate for, I think the biggest role, what people, understand is Harvest just didn't go build these homes. We had the demonstration grant from the Virginia Housing, which we used to do a lot of the infrastructure and grading the property and do that and help to lower the cost of the housings. But how Harvest will be serving as a backstop. In our funding will basically serve, as I said, as a backstop for until the houses are sold, because as a private company, Nationwide can't just hold the inventory, and so any of the houses that aren't sold during that time frame, we purchase with backstop funding from us, and then once the houses are sold, then our funds come back. So our real investment is really being that backstop and being able to keep the project moving forward. And like I said, the partnerships and the various different agencies, the city has done a lot of in-kind work in terms of getting the property ready. They've helped with handling the permitting and the courts. Silver Point, in terms of working with us on the construction. Nationwide on, just getting the homes built and then, when you have challenges like, okay, in terms of making sure we fit into Nationwide's construction schedule, getting them built and then not being ready to place them yet, you have to store them. And then when you store them, you have to insure them. And that was all worked out between Silver Point, Nationwide, the Harvest Foundation, and the city to where it was seamless. They came off the line. We were able to store them. We were able to provide the insurance for them. And it kept the project moving. So just the various different parties being able to just sit down and work through the various different challenges has just been amazing. And what I see is the success of this project once we're able to, and I do believe that once we're able to put some houses on the ground and people to be able to see how nice they are and see the community that it's building, that we won't have a problem selling these houses. And once we've sold these 27 houses at 5 Points, I think the next thing for us is to look at what's the next development that we can work on as a partnership together. And we're already starting to look at those things. So, that's about taking the ownership and being able to, put these projects together in our community, using a company in our community, and using mostly local resources to bring together a project that benefits the entire community.
There's signage up on the site. We've also sent some mailers out with the utility bills from the city. We'll probably do that again coming in September, October, once there's actually some houses on site. So we've so far really just tried to get people to understand there's something on the way. As soon as the houses get placed, however, we're looking to put up some billboards around on the way out of town, probably with some of the messaging around if you lived at 5 Points, you'd be home by now. Really focusing in on those that are traveling from other locations to the Martinsville area for work. And then we're looking at advertising on the radio as well. So there's a local station that kind of covers the Henry County and surrounding areas, but then also looking at some Greensboro and Danville and possibly Roanoke radio stations to, again, get some of those people who may be driving half hour, 45 minutes, even an hour or more to work every day, saying, hey, there is an option, an affordable option, and certainly more affordable than anything they could find in any of those other markets. One of the other great benefits about this project that wouldn't have happened without Virginia Housing's initial investment is that we are already, even though we haven't placed the first house, we're already having discussions about what's next, what's the next project. Like, we are anticipating this will be a success. And we also know that this is just the first step in really rebuilding the housing stock in the area.
You know, I think Virginia Housing has just really gone out of its way to try and serve our community. I think they've been very accommodating and wanting to invest. I think that's, the moment we sat down and started having conversations with them, you could sense their desire to invest in this community. And I think the only thing they were looking for is a group of partners who had the same desire and energy and enthusiasm for it as they had. And I think they found that.